The village festival is alive with drums and laughter. Then, a microphone crackles. Nkiru's voice rings out across the square, dripping with venom. Adanna is not what you think she is. She. The crowd freezes. Adanna's face goes pale. Obinna turns, confused. This is the moment a jealous best friend destroyed her own life. But how did we get here? Let me take you back. Nkiru sobbing into her hands. Adanna walking away, shamed. Obinna torn between two women. The village whispering, pointing. If you love powerful folktales with deep lessons, stories that teach while they grip you, hit that subscribe button right now. You won't want to miss what happens next. In the heart of Umu's village, where red earth roads wind between compound walls and palm trees sway like old storytellers, two girls grew up side by side. Adanna was the kind of woman mothers pointed to. She carried water for the elderly without being asked. She stayed late at the farm to help neighbors finish their planting. Her laughter was warm, her hands were always open. People called her Adis, the people's daughter. Then there was Nkiru. Beautiful, yes. Clever, certainly. But while Adanna's kindness flowed like a stream, Nkiru's charm had to be summoned, forced into place like a smile held too long. She watched how people's eyes softened when Adanna entered a room. She noticed how the elders blessed Adanna first at gatherings. And it burned. They had been friends since childhood, or so everyone believed. But friendship, to Nkiru, had always been a performance. A way to stay close to the light she could never quite generate herself. When they were young, it was small things, Adanna winning the dancing competition. Adanna chosen to carry the offering calabash during harvest festival. Adanna, Adanna, always Adanna. Nkiru learned to clap the loudest. To hug the longest. To be seen standing beside her. But inside, a quiet, gnawing resentment grew roots. The village loved them both, but it adored Adanna. And Nkiru. She was learning to hate the sound of applause when it wasn't for her. Everything changed the day Obinna knelt. Obinna, the blacksmith's son with strong arms and an honest heart, chose Adanna. Not as a girlfriend. Not as a passing affection. As his wife. The village erupted in joy. Adanna blushed and said yes. Her mother ululated. The women danced in the square. And Nkiru. She fainted. Right there. Dramatically. In front of everyone. When she woke, she wept so loudly the celebration paused. She clutched Adanna's hand and whispered, "I'm just so happy for you." But her nails dug in a little too hard. In the weeks that followed, Nkiru became unrecognizable. She began showing up at Adanna's compound unannounced, eyes red from sleepless prayer. She claimed to have visions, dreams sent by the ancestors warning of spiritual attacks around the wedding. She hugged Adanna in public and whispered poison in private. "Are you sure Obinna's mother approves?" I heard her talking. She fasted dramatically, told everyone she was interceding for her dear friend. But at night, alone in her room, Nkiru stared at the ceiling and whispered a different prayer. "If I cannot shine, Adanna will stop shining too." The plan was already forming. And jealousy, once given permission, is a fire that does not rest. But here's what made it worse. Adanna had no idea. Because Adanna. She loved Nkiru like a sister. When Nkiru's father fell ill and could no longer walk, it was Adanna who brought food to their compound, yam porridge, palm oil, dried fish, every single week. She didn't announce it. She just did it. When Nkiru had no decent wrapper for her cousin's wedding, Adanna gave her one. Not an old one. A beautiful Ankara cloth she'd been saving. When the market women whispered that Nkiru was too proud or too sharp-tongued, Adanna silenced them. Nkiru is misunderstood. She has a good heart. When Adanna heard that Elder Okonkwo's wife needed help selling provisions at the school, she didn't take the job herself, she recommended Nkiru. She walked her there, introduced her, made sure she was hired. And when wedding preparations began, Adanna didn't choose her cousins or her childhood friends to stand beside her. She chose Nkiru, chief bridesmaid. "You've always been there for me," Adanna said, squeezing her hand. "I can't imagine this day without you." Nkiru smiled. She hugged Adanna tightly. And over Adanna's shoulder, where no one could see, her jaw clenched. The audience watching this story must feel it in their chest. This girl does not deserve what's coming. Because Adanna wasn't just kind. She was loyal. She was blind to betrayal because she had never lived it. And Nkiru. She was sharpening her knife with every act of kindness received. It started small. So small, Adanna didn't even notice at first. During a community meeting, Nkiru laughed and said, Adanna, you're adding weight. Oh. Marriage fat is coming early." Everyone chuckled. Adanna laughed too. But the seed was planted. At the next gathering, Nkiru sighed dramatically. "Adanna is so perfect, it's exhausting. Sometimes I wonder if it's all real or just performance." The women glanced at each other. Another day, while helping Adanna pick fabrics, Nkiru leaned close to the tailor and whispered, loud enough for others to hear, "Obinna says he prefers serious women. Women who don't laugh so much in public." Adanna frowned. "He never said that." Nkiru smiled sweetly. "Oh, maybe I misunderstood." But the whispers had already started. Is Adanna too loud? Does she really pray, or is it just for show? Nkiru knows Obinna better than we thought. Adanna brushed it off. She trusted Nkiru. She trusted the village. But the audience? The audience is screaming at the screen. "Girl, wake up." And that frustration. That helplessness. It keeps them watching. Then Nkiru turned up the heat. At the wedding dance rehearsals, in front of the entire bridal party, Nkiru clapped her hands sharply. "Adanna, no. Stop. You're doing it wrong." Adanna paused, confused. "Wrong?" "Yes. The step is like this." Nkiru demonstrated, exaggerating every move. "You have to be graceful. This is your wedding, not a child's party." The other bridesmaids shifted uncomfortably. Adanna smiled, trying to keep peace. "Okay. I'll try again." But Nkiru wasn't done. At the market, she began telling the women, "Adanna asked me to help organize everything, but when I do, she doesn't even say thank you. I'm starting to wonder if she's using me." The women gasped. "Using you? After all you've done for her?" Nkiru wiped a fake tear. "I don't want to speak badly of my friend, but it hurts." Word spread like wildfire. Then came the worst part. Nkiru began inserting herself, physically, between Adanna and Obinna. At the village square, she'd rush up, grab Obinna's arm, and laugh too loudly. "Obinna, come, let me ask you something." Adanna would stand there, watching. At church, Nkiru sat between them. "There's more room here," she'd say, smiling innocently. People began whispering. Why is Nkiru always with Obinna? Is she the one he really wanted? Maybe Adanna trapped him. Adanna felt it. The shift. The coldness in greetings. The side glances. One evening, she finally asked Nkiru, "Is everything okay? You seem different." Nkiru's eyes filled with crocodile tears. "I'm just stressed, Ada. Planning this wedding is hard. I'm doing everything, and sometimes I feel invisible." Adanna's heart broke. "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. Let me help you more." No. Nkiru hugged her tightly. You just focus on being a bride. I'll handle everything. Adanna believed her. But the trap was nearly set. And the village. They were starting to choose sides. The night of the village festival arrived like any other celebration, drums echoing through the square, lanterns glowing warm against the dark sky, children weaving between dancers, and the air thick with roasted corn and laughter. Adanna stood near the center, wearing a bright yellow wrapper, her face glowing with joy. Obinna was beside her, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. The elders were smiling. The women were ululating. Everything was perfect. Until Nkiru arrived. She came stumbling through the crowd, limping, her wrapper torn at the edge, her head tied crooked, her face twisted in anguish. Help! Somebody help me! The drums stopped. Every head turned. Nkiru collapsed to her knees in the center of the square, sobbing so violently her entire body shook. What happened? Someone shouted. Nkiru, what's wrong? She pointed directly at Adanna. She attacked me. The crowd gasped. Adanna's mouth fell open. What? I confronted her, Nkiru wailed, tears streaming down her face. I told her she was treating me like a slave. Using me to plan her wedding and throwing me aside like I'm nothing. That's not true. Adanna's voice cracked. Nkiru, why are you? And she pushed me. Nkiru screamed, pointing at her torn wrapper. Look what she did. The women rushed forward, surrounding Nkiru, touching her arms, her face, gasping in horror. Adanna did this. The same Adanna we thought was so kind. I always knew something was off. Obinna stepped forward, confused, his brow furrowed. Nkiru, wait. Adanna has been with me all evening. She sent someone. Nkiru shrieked, now fully committed to the lie. Or maybe I'm just crazy, right? Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I've been imagining everything. She collapsed again, this time fully to the ground, her body going limp. Two men rushed to lift her. The crowd erupted in chaos. Take her to the healer. Someone get water. Adanna, what is wrong with you? Adanna stood frozen, her hands trembling, her eyes wide with disbelief. She looked around, at faces that had once smiled at her, now twisted with judgment and suspicion. I didn't. I would never. But no one was listening. Obinna turned to her, his face a storm of confusion and doubt. Adanna, what is going on? Her lips parted, but no words came. The character assassination was complete. The village that had adored her now saw her as a villain. And Nkiru, carried away on the shoulders of sympathetic neighbors, allowed herself the smallest, hidden smile. The whole village turned against Adanna that night, except one voice. That one voice belonged to Adanna's mother. But even her words couldn't stop what came next. Nkiru didn't rest. The very next morning, she sent a message to Obinna, a fake screenshot, carefully edited, showing Adanna saying terrible things about his family. His mother is controlling. I'm only marrying him for status. Obinna stared at his phone, his chest tight. Then Nkiru visited the village elders, her eyes swollen from crying. I'm scared, she whispered, trembling. Adanna has changed. She threatened me. She said if I told anyone the truth, she'd make sure I never find a husband. The elders exchanged grave looks. This is serious. We cannot allow a wedding built on lies. Within 2 days, the decision was made. The wedding was temporarily cancelled. Adanna sat on the floor of her mother's hut, staring at nothing. Her hands were limp in her lap. Her eyes, once bright, were hollow. She hadn't eaten. Hadn't spoken. The entire village had turned. Even Obinna seemed distant, confused, unsure of what to believe. Her mother knelt beside her, placing a firm hand on her shoulder. Adanna. Look at me. Adanna's eyes lifted, brimming with tears. Her mother's voice was steady, sharp as a blade. Not every snake hisses, my daughter. Some smile. Adanna blinked. You have been kind to a viper, her mother continued. And now she has bitten you. But listen to me, truth does not stay buried. Lies are loud, but they are also careless. Adanna wiped her face. What do I do, Mama? Her mother's gaze hardened. You do nothing. You wait. Because a liar always forgets that the same mouth that destroys can destroy itself. And she was right. Because at that very moment, across the village, Nkiru was making her final mistake. It was youth fellowship night. The church hall was packed, young people gathered for prayer, music, and fellowship. The microphone sat on a stand at the front, ready for the evening's program. Nkiru arrived late, distracted, her phone pressed to her ear. She stood near the back entrance, just outside the hall, laughing into the receiver. Inside, the youth leader was testing the sound system. Tap tap. Can everyone hear me? The speakers crackled to life. But Nkiru didn't notice. Because her phone, her call, had accidentally connected to the Bluetooth microphone system. Her voice suddenly boomed across the entire hall. Oh, I'm telling you. Adanna is finished. Every head turned. The laughter inside stopped. Nkiru continued, oblivious, her voice dripping with venom and pride. I destroyed her reputation. Let's see if Obinna will still marry her now. That girl thought she was better than me. I will never let her shine while I suffer. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. Inside the hall, eyes widened. Hands covered mouths. Obinna, seated in the third row, stood slowly, his face pale. And then, Adanna walked in. She had come to pray. To seek peace. But instead, she had everything. Her eyes locked on Nkiru, still standing outside, phone to her ear, completely unaware. Someone shouted, Nkiru. The mic is on. Nkiru froze. The phone slipped from her hand. Her eyes darted to the open door, to the sea of faces staring at her in shock, disgust, and fury. She stumbled forward, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. I didn't. You liar, a woman screamed. You destroyed that girl's name. Nkiru fell to her knees, tears streaming, her hands clasped together. Please. Forgive me. It was jealousy. I was wrong. Please. But no one moved to help her. The elders stood. Their faces were stone. You are banned from all community gatherings, one elder declared. Until you make this right. Nkiru crumbled, sobbing into the dirt. And Adanna. She stood tall. Silent. Vindicated. The next morning, the entire village knew the truth. Obinna came to Adanna's compound, his head bowed, shame written across his face. I should have believed you, he said quietly. I'm sorry. Adanna looked at him for a long moment. Then nodded. I forgive you. But don't ever doubt me again. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. The elders called a meeting and publicly cleared Adanna's name. Apologies poured in, some sincere, some coated in embarrassment. The wedding was restored. But when Nkiru came, trembling, to Adanna's doorstep days later, begging for forgiveness, Adanna's response was calm. I forgive you, Nkiru. But I will never trust you again. Our friendship is over. Nkiru wept. But Adanna didn't flinch. Because forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. And grace doesn't mean foolishness. Nkiru became an outcast, not banned forever, but marked. The village watched her carefully now. Her name carried weight, but not the kind she wanted. Meanwhile, Adanna's wedding day arrived in full glory. The drums played. The village danced. Obinna held her hand tightly, and this time, there was no confusion. No doubt. And as the sun set over Umeus, painting the sky in gold and crimson, the village learned a lesson it would not soon forget. Jealousy destroys the jealous first. And kindness, though tested, will always rise again. And so, the village of Umeus learned what the elders have always known. Pride destroys the builder before the building. Jealousy burns the owner before the enemy. Whatever we plant in others grows in our own house. Nkiru wanted to dim Adanna's light, but in doing so, she extinguished her own. She sought to destroy a friendship, and instead destroyed her reputation. She planted bitterness, and reaped isolation. But Adanna, she planted kindness, even when it was not returned. And in the end, kindness stood tall while jealousy crumbled into dust. This is the way of the world. What you send out will always come back. The question is, what are you planting? If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of a truth you needed to hear, then subscribe. Because every week, we bring you folktales like this, stories with power, with purpose, with lessons that last. Don't just watch. Learn. Grow. And pass the wisdom on. See you in the next story.